Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Suzanne Morphew. I've got some videos pulled up and I'm going to show some of those. It goes into kind of some of the search efforts for Suzanne. There's some body cam footage and I came across the grand jury indictment, so I'm going to show that as well. Anyway, Suzanne Morphew, she lived in Maysville, Colorado, around Salida, Colorado area. She went missing on May 10th, 2020, and her husband was later arrested on May 5th, 2021. He was ultimately released in September 2021, and then he was again arrested here recently on June 20th, I believe, 2025, and he was arrested for her murder. Suzanne Morphew's body was found in September of 2023, about 50 miles away from her home. I think it's called Alamosa County is where she was found. Anyhow, I'm just going to go ahead and get into this and show a few of these videos. This is Suzanne Morphew. Okay, so this is basically just a quick rundown of the Suzanne Morphew case timeline of events in the death of the Colorado mother. And this was posted recently. Says a week ago here. Okay, so in more than 5 years since the disappearance of Colorado mom Suzanne Morphew, there have been several developments in the case, including the arrest of her husband, the subsequent dismissal of charges against Barry Morphew in her death, and his recent arrest for the second time in her murder. Now that investigators have arrested Barry Morphew again, nearly 2 years after they identified Suzanne Morphew's remains, there are still unanswered questions. So on May 6th, 2020, Suzanne Morphew sent her husband, Barry Morphew, a text that indicated that she wanted to end the relationship, according to court documents. The text read, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." The text was found in Barry's cache, indicating that it had been deleted. On May 9th, 2020, on that morning, according to court documents, 59 communications were exchanged between Suzanne and the man who was apparently her boyfriend. May 10th, 2020, Suzanne Morphew was last seen alive. She left behind 2 daughters, teenagers at the time, and her husband, Barry Morphew. Her bicycle was found down a steep ravine off Chaffee County Road 225 from Highway 50. Deputies documented that the bicycle did not look like it had been involved in a crash, and no blood was recovered from the scene. On May 14th, 2020, the reward offered was doubled to $200,000 in the search for Suzanne Morphew. May 22nd, 2020, investigators with the FBI, the CBI, and Chaffee County Sheriff's Office sifted through the dirt at one of Barry Morphew's job sites near Salida. June 10th, 2020, nearly 24 members of law enforcement conducted a community canvass in Chaffee County in a search for Suzanne Morphew. September 24th, 2020, Suzanne Morphew's brother, Andrew Mormon, organized a 5-day search of the mountainous areas where she was last seen. September 2022, a candlelight vigil was planned for Suzanne Morphew at Riverside Park in Salida. October 7th, 2020, Barry Morphew speaks with CBS News Colorado and shares photos and love letters after Suzanne's disappearance. He also shared a theory that he believed that she had been abducted. And this is his booking photo from his first arrest. It says, "This booking photo was taken after Barry Morphew's first arrest, nearly a year after Suzanne's disappearance. Despite not having found his wife's body, he was charged with first-degree murder and tampering with physical evidence and other charges. In their arrest affidavit, prosecutors spelled out what they believed happened to Suzanne. It had become clear that Barry could not control Suzanne's insistence on leaving him, and he resorted to something he has done his entire life: hunt and control Suzanne like he had hunted and controlled animals." This was said by Chaffee County. May 5th, Barry Morphew was arrested on charges of murder after deliberation, tampering with physical evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant. December of 2021, the judge assigned to preside over the case removed himself after defense attorneys raised questions about a conflict of interest. February 2022, the murder trial was moved from Chaffee County to Fremont County. Officials stated the reason at the time was because of the size of the community and the pervasive negative pre-trial publicity since Suzanne Morphew's disappearance. The court finds that a fair trial cannot take place in Chaffee County. This is a high-profile case in a relatively small county with a small jury pool. The media saturation is high. March 1st, 2020, Barry's lawyers asked for a dismissal after they received an internal affairs document surrounding the Colorado Bureau of Investigation's agent in charge, Joe Cahill. In a court filing, the prosecution claimed the defense was taking bits and pieces of context. In the internal affairs document, Cahill said, "The arrest of the suspect now as the worst decision that could have been made." He went on, "The arrest of the suspect in this investigation was premature," and called it hasty. April 19th, 2022, a judge dismissed the case against Barry Morphew. The 11th Judicial District Attorney filed the motion to dismiss without prejudice, which means that the charges can be filed against Barry Morphew at a later date. July 21st, 2022. Barry Morphew pled guilty to forgery for filling out and turning in Suzanne Morphew's 2020 ballot. Morphew used her ballot to submit a fraudulent vote for President Donald Trump in the 2020 presidential election. Morphew pleaded guilty to forgery of a government-issued document and was sentenced to 32 hours of community service as well as 1 year deferred sentence. A judge also ordered him to pay $1,000 in fines and court costs. September 22nd, 2023, remains were located during the course of a search in the area of Moffett in Saguache County on an investigation not related to the Morphew disappearance. September 27th, 2023, the CBI said the remains found were positively identified as those of Suzanne Morphew. April 29th, 2024, Suzanne Morphew's death was declared a homicide nearly 4 years after her disappearance. September 10th, 2024, a disciplinary board recommended 11th Judicial District Attorney Linda Stanley be disbarred because of improper statements made to the media, which contributed to a ruling to change the venue. September 25th, 2024, Barry Morphew's $15 million lawsuit against the 11th Judicial District Attorney's Office, the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, and the FBI and the CBI was dismissed by a judge. June 20th, 2025, Barry Morphew was arrested in Arizona 2 days after he was indicted on first-degree murder charges in the case of his wife's death. This was the second time Barry Morphew has been arrested and charged in Suzanne Morphew's death. The public is asked to continue to report any information about this case by calling 719-312-7530. Just in case you hear loud bangs in the background, it is 4th of July, so happy 4th of July. So this is the helicopter video of Barry and Suzanne Morphew's home in Maysville, Colorado. She left her home, allegedly went on a bike ride, and never returned. This is the home that she went missing from. So I'm just going to go ahead and play it from here. It is quite long, so I went ahead and just took it to the end, and I'll play it from there. But you can tell as you watch this, there's a lot of woods surrounding the house, so it is pretty remote, it seems to be. There's not a lot of really nearby neighbors. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and play this. Okay, so I was able to find a couple of different things with her brother, Andrew Mormon. He conducted several searches and unfortunately was not able to find his sister. But I'm going to go ahead and play these couple of interviews with him.
Intense search for Suzanne Morphew is now underway in Salida.
Suzanne has been missing since Mother's Day. We are joined now by Andrew Mormon, that's Suzanne's brother, who is leading these search efforts. And Andrew, good morning to you. We know you have a big group there with you helping. You started yesterday, so give us an update on the search.
Today, again, we're going to meet at Poncho Springs Visitor Center, and we're going to gather there, divide teams, and we're going to dispatch from that point. And we really got a lot of ground covered yesterday. We expect to cover a lot more today. A lot of tips are coming in. It's really livened this investigation up. And of course, the sheriff and CBI are on our side, so that helps a lot. And we had to process some evidence yesterday that we found up on a mountain. So it's coming along.
Can you tell us about any of that evidence?
I'd hate to speak too much about it. I can just tell you it was close to the Morphew residence, and we're not sure of the importance of it, but we did get the sheriff and CBI on it, and they are processing that scene as we speak.
Andrew, what do you think happened to your sister? You've been very vocal about this. You want to keep it in the spotlight. I know you want to be able to bring her home, but what do you think happened?
Oh, I think that she was abducted. I don't think she ever got on her bike. I think she probably died Saturday, and she was hidden somewhere Saturday night. And we're pushing forward, and that's the theories that we have right now that seem to be correct.
How many people do you have there, and how many of them are from your home state?
I got about 25 here from Indiana, and more showing up today via Denver Airport, of course, and they're going to shuttle over and join the search. Then there's another, I would say yesterday we had around 420 actual searchers and about 40 people that volunteered to support those searchers all day.
Andrew, we first of all want to, of course, pass along our thoughts to you. I know how tough this must be as a brother. I do want to ask you finally before we let you go, and maybe it's too personal, please say if it is there tension between you and her husband, and is he cooperating with this search? Is he on site with you today? What is the status of that?
Yesterday we ran into him as we crossed that mountaintop where we found the evidence, and he was out hanging trail cams and had a shotgun on his shoulder and warned us not to go any further because we were about to enter private property. And to answer your question, no, he's not involved in the search, and he has been invited to the search personally by Profiling Evil, Chris and Mike, and they've been a huge help to me. But no, Barry's, as far as I'm concerned, he's not cooperating enough with the police. He should have done a voice analysis of the lie detector right off the bat, and some of his behavior since then have been quite strange.
Well, Andrew, we'll check back in with you. All the best to you, and thanks to all the people who are out there helping you. We just hope for the best. If there's a chance that you could find her even alive somewhere, we would certainly hope that could happen. But we know you're out there giving it your best efforts.
Yeah, it's a slim chance that we'll find her alive, but you never know. Anybody that wants to join the search, you're welcome. Go to Profiling Evil, sign up, download the GIS app prior to, and come join. We need all the help we can get.
There are a lot of people who have been willing to help out. Andrew.
Okay, so this is the clip from Profiling Evil. Go to their channel, make sure you sub up Mike King with Profiling Evil. He does a really good job. I'm going to go ahead and just play this.
Yeah, well, you can see the concentration in these areas around the Morphew house. The property around Foose Lake was searched very hard. We followed the power lines up, way up, almost to the snow line and back. And we ate lunch there, and we really concentrated hard on this area. And you're right, the places that haven't been searched, you see the blank in the middle on the right is the Morphew home. That's private property. We're not allowed on that. But we searched everything around it, all the way to the point where we ran into somebody and they told us, you're about to get on private property. So
do you know who that person was? Do you care to reveal anything?
Yeah, it was Barry. he was up there hanging trail cameras with a shotgun on his shoulder.
And what did he say?
He wasn't cross, but he said, you're about to go on private property and you're not allowed.
So
And
you're looking for your sister. So you're looking for your sister, and he's putting cameras up and with a shotgun with a bunch of searchers for his sister. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, obviously that was Chris McDonough that was speaking there. So anyhow, it is Profiling Evil's channel, though. If you want to go there and check it out for yourself, go right ahead. This is body cam footage. It shows the first moments that Suzanne was first reported missing when her bike was found. And then later in the video, it will go on to show an interaction with her daughter's boyfriend. And then later it will also show when Barry Morphew first arrived on the scene where the police and the bicycle were at. I am going to be stopping this just momentarily in between, just to comment a few things as we go. Otherwise, I'm going to let this play out.
Suzanne?
Dad, maybe see if you can get that up to the road and then check the serial number or call the husband and see what kind of bike she has. Somebody chip you, buddy. Can you try to call the husband and see what type of bike she has? Right now I'm staring at a Santa Cruz, blue in color. One of us will stay here. One's gonna be like on the bottom of that. That's where I usually because the rim's not gonna. I'm just looking at the rim. It's not bad.
What is it? Warm call, Kev. Good morning.
I guess maybe be careful where you're talking to. Just stay on there. Try not to touch it too much in case like.
Yeah. Something's up with this front tire. Said something's up with this front tire. Are you?
Okay, so I'm the daughter's boyfriend.
Okay.
And I'm here.
Is this your truck?
That's my truck.
Somebody chip it up. Never mind, I got something here. So you haven't seen the mom at all, have you?
Yep,
So remember, Suzanne's daughters were out of town. They had went out of town on a camping trip with some friends, and so the boyfriend showed up to meet the officers there, I believe.
the two daughters are gone right now at the moment. The dad is in Denver for a job. and they text her because of Mother's Day, and they haven't heard. The text never went through, like it never delivered since this morning. And she's a big mountain biker. She normally takes her car, and her bike's normally in the back of that. It's gone.
Was this open when you came here?
The neighbor was here that opened it, and then she shut it, and she went back to her house. Her house is right over there.
Okay.
And then I came back and I opened it to come in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you looked in the house for
I
her?
have, yep.
All right. You looked through everything?
Yes.
You haven't found her?
No.
Okay. All right. What time did you get here?
6 o'clock, and then I went all the way up Frusis, because she's rode up there. And I just drove the main road, couldn't find her, and then there's a couple spots that I could check, like trails and stuff. But I wanted to come back here to just, like, check back in and stuff.
Okay. Has she ever gone up 225?
Colorado Trail right there?
Like, you know the big hill once you come off the highway?
Well, she hasn't, and I haven't checked there yet because that climb at the beginning is really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be out of characteristic for her to do that. But I mean, someone needs to go there, I think.
Why would you say this, like, on carry?
Well, because it's kind of a crazy...
Okay.
It's kind of a crazy climb to get up there. It's like not really rideable. You got to push your bike before you can start riding.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have a driver's license on you?
Yeah. It's in my truck, and here's my dad pulling up.
That's your dad?
That's my dad right there.
Okay. S211.
Good.
Alright, so this is one of the daughter's boyfriend, and he's saying it'd be out of ordinary for her to travel up that way. Where we found the bike.
Wait, where did they find her bike?
The bike's leaning up against the sheriff's vehicle.
Yeah.
Do we know what she was wearing in reference to the jacket?
Do you know what she usually wears when she goes riding?
She has a couple different sets of clothing in terms of what she wears riding, so I'm not sure exactly what she put on today.
Okay, what are some of the outfits she wears?
Blue shorts, like turquoise blue shorts.
Can you pull her up on Instagram?
Yeah, she has a blue helmet, which she always wears.
Okay.
Like turquoise blue helmet.
You guys have her bike, though?
Yeah, we do.
But not her?
Not her.
Okay.
Where'd you find her bike?
Off of that road that I was asking you about.
Oh,
where you said it was
in
on
Chavano.
Just right out here on the road.
Right out there, okay.
Right where you found.
Where that road takes off up the...
Does she wear any jackets?
She probably would have had.
What kind of jackets does she wear?
I mean, a windbreaker.
A windbreaker?
I don't know what color.
I saw her.
I mean, we don't even know what time she left today.
Yeah.
But they have cameras.
They have cameras, but they've been out of commission for a while.
Hey, 11, can you get a list of some of the
So her
trails
bike
that
was
she
close to the
went?
road?
That way, if we get search and rescue out here, they can focus on those.
I just have to say, it never ceases to amaze me that in a lot of these true crime cases that we follow, that the cameras are always out of commission, oddly.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
It's good.
What were some of the other trails you said? She rides up Booses and...
Yep, she rides up Fusis. Normally when she takes her car, she goes down to, what's that road called? That's right down at the pay. Goes up to North Fork Lake.
Okay, what about around here? Since she didn't take her car, she clearly left from
So
here.
she would have gone up Fusis, I assume, or to the Colorado
Across,
Trail.
you go straight across the
There's
highway,
that
the
trail?
Colorado Trail's right there.
Okay.
So you can go up that ridge there, and that gets on the Colorado Trail.
And did you just let him know about it? Do you live in the area?
No, he dates her.
Right.
Yeah,
so he called you and let you know?
Well, we were talking to their daughters on a road trip. We were talking to them down in town.
Okay.
And then I said, yeah, why don't you run up there and see if you can't find her.
Sure.
And so then once he'd been gone a while, I drove up here.
I know this is a weird question, but do Barry and Suzanne get along pretty well?
You can answer, honestly.
You know, I think they've had some problems.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past.
Like, just normal...
Normal husband and wife type deal. I would
They,
say.
like, talk about separating or anything
They
like
have,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
And you know this through
Macy.
Yeah, I'm very
Macy.
close with her.
Yeah, it's
daughter.
important that you, at this
I know,
point,
I
you
know,
tell
I
him
know.
anything that
Yeah.
you know like that.
Yeah, and he is in Denver for a work job. He's a landscaper, and he's got a big job in Denver. So that's where he is at right now.
Okay.
And Macy and the older sister Mallory are on a road trip. Where are they?
Where's the bike?
Oh, it's right there.
Where was it?
It was like just right down here in this little embankment right here. So, sorry, Chick, yes, dude. We got the husband on scene here with me.
Right now. It's gonna be okay. I'm here with my daughter. She's at Gary's
Oh,
house.
okay. All right, yeah, you can go down there.
Was it a crash?
I mean, the bike looked, the way it was laying, it kind of looked like it, but there's not really that much damage to the bike. That's the thing.
Lion?
Yeah, it was just like
Was
lying.
it no lion? Mountain lion?
I didn't see anything that would
I didn't see anything, and they're not letting us go over the side.
Because we're getting attracted.
Dogs, we're bringing dogs.
Where'd you find her bike? Right
Just
here?
right down in here,
Do you know
yeah.
where my husband and son are?
They probably went down to Puma.
Yeah,
down
so-
to the house. We're in my house.
And Bear, just, I know this is tough right now. Do you mind if I just get your driver's license for our report stuff? Search and rescue's on their way. Hey, Barry, and then I'll probably need your help to kind of tell me some of the trails that she frequents so we can backtrack some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
Oh, man. And she's an avid mountain biker, right?
It's just started about 2 months. She's been here.
And just a confirmation, you left this morning at 5.
She was sound asleep.
Okay. And she told you she was going to go bike riding?
She bikes every day, yeah.
Okay.
He said that he left at 5 in the morning and that she was sound asleep. And, you know, I've seen this video a few times, and every time I see it, I notice something different. And I don't know, it just seems like such a act this time around. And, you know, maybe that's because he's been arrested on the second time. And, of course, he is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. I want to make that very clear. He has not been proven guilty. He is in jail in the Alamosa County jail right now. But he is innocent until proven guilty.
She was asleep in the bed when you left. Did you say bye to her or anything?
No, she's sound asleep.
Okay.
Always leave her.
So the last time you probably actually saw her was this morning. That was it, right?
Yeah, I've been in Bridgeville. I got a big job up there. I've been there all day. Really.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, you need to calm down.
No, it's all good, man. We're doing the best. We got
Did
a
they
lot of
check
people
the house?
coming.
Did they,
Yeah.
They
we got,
looked through the house?
yeah, they got the house. So what we're doing is we're keeping people out of the house because if the dog comes, they want to get a scent from out of the house.
Yeah.
So they don't want to pollute that scent. So that way we can start trying. And I walked up this. Like I said, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Nothing looked like.
I wonder if she was hurt, if she could climb up the hill?
But that's the thing. When we came here, still was daylight, right? So if she was right here, somebody would have easily, you know what I mean? Just because it was like literally like right down. It was this. I mean, if we saw it coming in, somebody would have definitely seen it too, you know?
How'd it go?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Do you want us to stage down at that residence or?
So, hold on, let me give this to you and I'll get right with you.
Okay, no worries.
Hey, Barry, besides, I know the bike was here, but what are some of the paths that, or like the trails, like
She rides this road, she rides up to the top, and then she goes up to Flus's.
Okay,
If there's no snow, she'll go up high on Flus's. She's went down this one a couple of times.
Down this one here too?
Yeah.
Okay. So double check Flus's over there too, because I think,
Well,
was it
see,
Miles?
if
I think
it's-
Miles. Yeah, I know. We just want to double check everything. So, yeah.
Did anybody look for foot tracks on the road?
I haven't seen anything really, but
Like people tracks? We're lying?
I didn't really
No, this is where I won't lie, I'm not like an expert tracker or something, you know. Yeah, so my partner is actually the one that saw it and picked it up, but it was like the top of it was weird because it feels like the top of the bike was like up this way.
So maybe flipped.
Maybe, I don't know, man.
But just call this.
Go ahead.
What's the thing about 4 o'clock in the morning? Or was that sitting on the phone? 5 o'clock. Oh, yeah, so we pinged the phone and it said the last activity was at 4 in the morning.
Up here?
It's off of the Ponzi Tower. So there's not any specific coordinate. Hey, could you not touch the bike with your hands, please?
Hey, guys!
I mean, it's bad enough that the officer was touching the bike as much as he was. I mean, he had to get it out of there. I understand that. But then for Barry to go over there and start touching on that bike just really gives me the creeps. Makes me wonder, like, why would you do that? Like, don't you want whoever might be involved to have their prints on there? I don't know. Just my opinion. Again, innocent until proven guilty.
That's the husband. Because I've been wearing gloves. I've been trying not to. So.
Put it in here. Can you fit it in your car?
No, but I could try to. My car is, with the back is filled with tag gear and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and the bike was found right there. See that little pink thing right in there? And you could see it on our initial body camera too when we found it, right over there. Right there by like that tree. So I didn't seem a little distraught. The guy's kind of going back and like, why didn't they check the recruit? I'm like, you know, we're trying to do the best we can. And this guy, I guess his name's, he showed up on his own. I guess Barry. Hey Barry, are you guys, where are you guys headed? Okay. Here soon I'm gonna probably have you come and talk with us more. Alright, thanks man.
And sir, when we go inside, let's just go directly to where something that she's worn today, and let's not touch anything just for in case.
Okay. Is this unlocked?
Yes.
Which way would that be? This way?
Anything down there?
These are all hers right here?
Yeah.
Have you got a plastic bag?
Yeah.
Or a paper bag?
It's a sports bra, it's probably good. I mean, it's direct contact with the skin. No, we should just be fine with one. How do you turn on the exterior lights? Which light switch is it? All of them, Dale?
Yes, 2 on secure.
Thank you. Hey, Anthony. Can I speak to you over there once we get back?
Right there.
So you realize what you grabbed, right? Those shorts? Yeah. Those are for mountain biking. Yeah. Like the padded shorts you can wear when you mountain biking. Yeah. So that, I'm curious if you can do that.
Yeah, I saw that. But they were like shorts.
Yeah.
And, so I got them, she's liked everything for the house ready, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know it's good with that.
Okay, so the next one that I'm going to play is Suzanne's sister, and she speaks about why she has suspicions, so we're just going to move on to that one as well. Actually, I have not seen this one coming up. Okay, so this is Melinda Mormon, Suzanne's sister.
Presumed dead, allegedly at the hands of her husband, and now her sister is speaking out. Melinda Mormon says from day one of her sister's disappearance last Mother's Day, she thought her brother-in-law, Barry Morphew, was responsible. When this all went down a year ago, did you think it had something to do with Barry?
Yes.
What made you think that Barry could be the one to blame?
The Friday before Mother's Day. My sister had sent me a text message that morning. It was very lengthy. It was very powerful. It was very revealing. She was ready to share some things that she'd been keeping close to her vest.
Melinda says her sister Suzanne had expressed concern for her own safety in the past. Was your sister scared of Barry?
Yes.
What made her scared of her own husband?
Barry was very dominant in the relationship, and my sister was a very passive, gentle soul. He had a great tendency to overpower and intimidate people to get what he wanted.
Do you think that Barry killed your sister?
Yes, I do.
Morphew has maintained his innocence, claiming he was 150 miles away in Denver and staying at a Holiday Inn Express when his wife disappeared. The Morphews have two daughters, Mallory and Macy, who are standing by their dad. The Morphews' daughters apparently refuse to believe their dad had anything to do with the presumed slaying of their mother. They were inside the courtroom during his hearing, where they made a heart-shaped sign of support with their hands and mouthed the words, "I love you."
Parents have a very powerful influence on their children for good or for evil.
Despite extensive searches, Suzanne's remains have yet to be found. Melinda says for now, she believes only her brother-in-law has the power to give his wife a decent burial.
I want you to tell the truth. Please do the right thing, Barry. Please do the right thing.
Okay, again, Barry Morphew is in the Alamosa County Jail right now, but he is presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. This next video is some videos that had been released. This was about 3 years ago.
Newly released evidence tonight involving a Chaffee County man accused of killing his wife. Tonight, for the first time, we're seeing some of the photographic evidence submitted in the Barry Morphew murder case.
These are photos from when he was at the hotel room in Broomfield. And at first I thought that he might have been carrying in a jug of bleach, but that was incorrect. It looks like bags.
Good evening, I'm Mallory Anderson in for Bart tonight. And I'm Heather Skold. Tonight, a first look at evidence in the murder case against accused wife killer Barry Morphew. The mother of his two daughters vanished Mother's Day weekend 2020. KRDO News Channel 13 Sydney Stell combed through the new photos released by a Chaffee County judge today. She's live in the studio. Sydney.
Well, Heather, Mallory, you can see a photo here of Barry Morphew in a Denver hotel, or a suburban Denver hotel, I should say, on the day that his wife disappeared back in 2020. Investigators say these photos helped show that he made several trips to dumpsters that day. This photo shows him holding shovels in the hotel lobby. He told law enforcement he was there for a construction job, but they later found out he was not permitted to use his heavy equipment because it was a Sunday. His wife's body still has not been found. These photos show scratches on Barry's hands and arms taken in the days after his wife's disappearance. The court also released photos Friday of Suzanne's bedroom, where a shell casing was found, and of the tranquilizer dart found in the home's dryer trap. Suzanne's purse was left behind in her car. Evidence shows the purse and all of its contents, including her wallet with cash, her ID, her credit cards, all things investigators say someone would not leave behind if they just ran away to start a new life. We're also seeing new photos of Suzanne's bike and helmet. Barry told law enforcement that he believed his wife was out for one of her regular bike rides when something must have happened to her. This is where her bike and her helmet were found in relation to her home. Investigators said they didn't find any evidence of an attack or crash when they found her bike, and you can see the condition that her bike was found in, along with a partial photo of her helmet. Now, a new judge just took over the case following a conflict of interest with the last judge. Barry Morphew will head back to court next week, and his trial is expected to begin in May. Reporting from our studio, I'm Sydney Stell, KRDO News Channel 13.
Newly released evidence.
Okay, so next, this is the... I'm just going to play the video. There is a little bit to read here, but I believe in my first video, I believe I read that out. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this video. It's about 2 minutes long. It says, warning, disturbing details. Autopsy reveals manner of death for missing Colorado mom, Suzanne Morphew.
A Colorado mother's manner of death is officially homicide. Suzanne Morphew was killed by someone, according to her autopsy report. That report also says she had animal tranquilizers in her system.
11 News reporter Melissa Henry is in studio to break this down. And Melissa, Morphew's autopsy is now public 7 months after her remains were found in that area on the screen behind you.
And Adam, new tonight, we know a ski mask and a weathered bullet are evidence tied to Morphew's remains. The autopsy report says Morphew died from homicide by unspecified means in the setting of drugs commonly used to sedate large wildlife like bears. The medical examiner noted several clothing items were found with Morphew's bone.
This part right here, this is, I believe, where they were sifting through dirt from a job site that Barry had been working on. I don't believe this is where she was discovered.
Bones, but there's no mention in the autopsy of anyone's DNA being on those items. A legal expert who spent years prosecuting homicide cases tells me investigators now likely are trying to figure out who would have knowledge of and access to those wildlife tranquilizers in order to get closer to finding a suspect.
These types of drugs that I would think are a little more difficult to get. Because they're sedatives that are used for veterinarians. So the question is, how easy are these things to get?
Suzanne's husband, Barry Morphew, was arrested in 2021, but charges have since been dropped. His attorneys sent a statement today saying, in part, the Morphews have prayed the authorities would remove their blinders and not only find Suzanne, but find the suspect responsible for her disappearance and murder. However, the Morphews are left with more questions than answers. We're looking into those drugs found in Morphew's system, and we'll have more on that tonight at 10. Back to you.
Yep, we'll keep following the case. Melissa, thank you.
Okay, so we do know that it was BAM that was ultimately found in her system. This is the article. It was published on April 24th, 2024. So anyway, this is the next thing I'm going to show is this is the grand jury indictment for the most recent arrest. He is being housed in Alamosa County Jail currently. This is the grand jury indictment. Okay, it goes on to say, count 1, murder in the first degree after deliberation. On or about May 9th to May 10th, 2020, in the state of Colorado, Barry Morphew unlawfully, feloniously, after deliberation and with intent to cause death of a person other than himself, caused the death of Suzanne Morphew in violation of Section 18-3-102. At 5:46 on May 10th, 2020, Mother's Day, Suzanne Morphew was reported missing to police by her neighbor. The last known person to see her alive was her husband, Barry Morphew. Investigators responded to the Morphew residence at 19057 Puma Path near Salida, Colorado to investigate the missing person report. The house was locked. Suzanne Morphew was not home. Her vehicle was in the garage. Her vehicle, which they have it redacted, was in the garage. There was no signs of forced entry, and her bike was missing. Later that evening, her bike was located down a hillside off of a dirt road between her house and Highway 50. The bike was located less than a mile from the Morphew home. On May 14th, 2020, Her bike helmet was located 10 meters off the side of Highway 50, approximately 1.52 miles west of the Morphew home and approximately 0.84 miles of where her bike was located. Barry Morphew was interviewed and told police that he set his alarm and woke up at 4:30 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. He told police that he had left at 5 a.m. on May 10th, 2020 for a pre-planned work trip in Broomfield, Colorado. According to Barry Morphew, Suzanne Morphew was asleep in bed when he left the house at 5 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. He told police that she planned to ride her bike that day. Barry Morphew stated that upon arriving in Broomfield that morning, he checked into a hotel before leaving shortly after for the job site. He told police that he received a call around 5 p.m. on May 10th, 2020 from his neighbor while physically at the Broomfield job site. The neighbors told Barry Morphew that his daughters were concerned because they could not reach Suzanne all day. Barry instructed the neighbors to check on the house and specifically to look for her bike. The neighbors reported to Barry that neither Suzanne nor the bike were at the house. Barry then instructed them to call the sheriff. Police interviewed one of Barry's employees scheduled to assist him with the Broomfield job. The employee told law enforcement that the employee and Barry were not planning to leave for Broomfield until the evening hours of May 10th, 2020. They were supposed to drive together. Instead, Barry left without telling the employee. Barry called the employee approximately 11:18 a.m. and informed that employee that he had left without them. When the employee arrived in Broomfield on Sunday evening, the employee noticed that Barry Morphew had failed to bring proper tools with him for the job, and the necessary materials for the job had not yet arrived at the job site. Review of the cameras at the hotel and nearby businesses revealed that Barry Morphew was in the Broomfield area for approximately 9 hours and 45 minutes. Of those hours, he spent less than 1/2 hour at the job site. Instead, besides 2 brief visits to the job site area, electronic evidence and cameras from businesses showed him driving around to various locations and discarding unknown items in separate trash cans. Hotel footage then showed Barry Morphew arriving at his hotel and remaining inside the room from approximately 12:34 p.m. to 5:55 p.m., inconsistent with his statement to police. He was in the hotel and not at the job site when he received the call about his wife, Suzanne Morphew, being unresponsive and missing. In early interviews with Barry Morphew, he told law enforcement that his marriage to Suzanne was the best, and that the two had had a wonderful weekend together. When Barry was asked whether Suzanne would say anything different about their relationship, Barry stated no. Barry Morphew's statements about his marriage to Suzanne were inconsistent with other witnesses' accounts and evidence located. Specifically, investigators learned that Suzanne confided in people that she was unhappy in the marriage in the weeks and months leading to her disappearance. She discussed plans to divorce Barry Morphew with her close friend. She maintained documented notes of problems in the relationship recovered from electronic devices and the physical search of the Morphew home. Suzanne Morphew had been having a secret affair with an old acquaintance who lived out of state. She communicated with him daily over LinkedIn and WhatsApp. Suzanne's last known electronic message to anyone was to this person on May 9th, 2020 at 2:11 p.m., just 32 minutes before Barry Morphew returned to the home that day. An overall timeline of the week of Suzanne Morphew's disappearance shows that the disappearance coincided with her daughter, redacted, the only other occupant of the Morphew residence, leaving on a pre-planned road trip out of the state. Because of this, Suzanne Morphew and Barry Morphew expected to be alone at the residence starting on May 5th, 2020, until either later in the day on May 10th or into May 11th, 2020. Suzanne Morphew drove redacted to Gunnison, Colorado on May 5th, 2020 to depart with her sister and friend on a planned trip. After May 5th, 2020, Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew were alone at the house. A forensic download of Barry Morphew's cell phone revealed that Barry Morphew had deleted a text chain with Suzanne Morphew from which an image of a single text remained. A screenshot of this single text message was saved on Barry Morphew's phone on May 6, 2020. The image revealed a text from Suzanne that stated, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." On May 11th, 2020, authorities commenced a search of the Morphew residence that spanned several days. The state of the residence and vehicles showed no signs of a break-in or intruder. Even with no signs of a break-in or intruder, law enforcement collected items of potential evidence and DNA swabs. DNA analysis of the swabs collected produced several DNA profile mixtures consistent with what would be expected in the common areas of a home or a vehicle. The mixture profiles were processed through offender databases and were compared to the profiles of known individuals who may have been present in the vehicles or the residence. The results did not lead to any stranger or intruder suspects. An expert in DNA analysis testified that law enforcement provided analysts with one of the partial profiles developed from the glove box of Suzanne Morphew's vehicle. For further investigation using a keyboard search, this allowed for additional comparisons to profiles in more databases with less stringent quality control standards than the National DNA Index system for the limited purposes of creating possible investigative leads. That expert further testified that there were matches to outside databases nationwide. The term match used by DNA analysts does not mean identical. Rather, a match only means that there were other profiles that could not be excluded at the limited number of loci from the partial profile for comparison. The expert explained that she then compared the matches from those databases from the partial profile from the mixture on the glove box and excluded those from the profiles as not originating from the same contributor in all but 3 instances. Finally, the expert explained that just because the profiles from these databases matched at limited loci available for comparison, it did not mean that any of the people from the out-of-state profiles were the same person that contributed to the partial profile to the mixture of the glove box. Law enforcement investigated those 3 partial matches obtained from 3 separate out-of-state sources and found no connection to the case. Law enforcement located a locked gun safe in the garage during the search of the Morphew residence. Inside that gun safe, law enforcement located a dart rifle, a tranquilizer rifle, positioned toward the front of the safe. Law enforcement also found packages of, I do not know how to pronounce the word, it's PNEU dart brand tranquilizer in the gun safe. The packages of darts included capped hypodermic needles inside of them, which were designed to load the darts. Law enforcement found one of these needle caps in the dryer after the dryer's contents were removed. Law enforcement also found men's shorts among the contents of the dryer that were removed prior to finding the needle cap. The shorts appeared consistent with the shorts Barry Morphew was seen on video wearing on May 9th, 2020, less than 1 hour before he returned to the Morphew residence. No tranquilizer formula was found during the law enforcement search of the home and vehicles. Police investigated numerous electronic devices and Suzanne Morphew's social media accounts, searching, among other things, for proof of life. The investigation revealed that Suzanne Morphew had not communicated electronically with any living person after 2:11 p.m. on May 9, 2020. Her last possible activity on any account protected by password access was 3:08 p.m., over 24 hours prior to her being reported missing. Records showing her typical use of electronics and social media demonstrated that this was inconsistent with her typical pattern of life in the days leading up to her disappearance. Additionally, witnesses indicated they attempted to communicate with Suzanne Morphew throughout this time frame but received no response from her. These witnesses indicated that her lack of response was out of the ordinary. Barry Morphew's electronic devices were also analyzed. A download of the infotainment system on Barry Morphew's truck recovered telematics data showing the location and activity of his truck at certain times on May 9th and May 10th, 2020. A download of Barry Morphew's cell phone showed additional location information. Based on data from his cell phone, Barry Morphew returned to the Morphew residence at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th, 2020. The data did not show his phone or truck leaving the residence again until the morning of May 10th, 2020. The download of Barry Morphew's cell phone registered events related to his phone. An expert forensic analyst determined that some of these events were in fact Barry Morphew's phone being turned off during the time frame of May 9th into May 10th, 2020. Turning off a cellular device effectively disables its ability to record location information. Specifically, the forensic analyst noted that Barry Morphew's phone download showed it was turned off from 2:47 p.m. on May 9th, 2020, only a few minutes after he arrived at the residence where Suzanne Morphew sent her last electronic communication to anyone. At approximately 10:17 p.m. on May 9th, 2020, the phone was turned back on. Barry Morphew's phone was again turned off at 4:32 a.m. May 10th, 2020, prior to him leaving the residence on his trip to Broomfield, Colorado, and was not turned on again until 5:37 a.m. when location information showed him on the road already in the area of Johnson Village, Colorado. Testimony established that the times Barry Morphew turned his phone off corresponded to periods of time of significance in the case where location information was consequently unavailable. Similarly, further analysis of the information of Barry Morphew's infotainment system in his truck showed an irregular gap in recorded activities, specifically from approximately 3:49 a.m. to approximately 8:10 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. There is no recorded data registering on Barry's infotainment system. An indication of no truck activity from the telematics is inconsistent with other facts developed from Barry Morphew's phone, surveillance footage, and Barry Morphew's statements about his activities on May 10th, 2020. Specifically, telematics data showed Barry Morphew arrive at his residence at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th, 2020. It then registered various activities throughout the afternoon at the residence until it ceased at 9:52 on May 9th, 2020. The telematics data then showed activities resume from 3:25 a.m. to 3:49 a.m. on May 10th, 2020, at a GPS location consistent with his driveway. Barry Morphew reported to law enforcement that he was asleep during that time frame. From 3:49 a.m. to 8:10 a.m. on May 10th, 2020, the infotainment system, or telematics, did not register any data despite the fact that Barry Morphew's cell phone indicated the device was in Johnson's Village at 5:37 a.m. on that date, and Barry reported being in his truck traveling to Broomfield at that time. When recorded telematics data became available again in the records from the infotainment system download at 8:10 a.m. on May 10th, 2020, corresponding GPS coordinates show that Barry Morphew had already arrived in the area of Broomfield, Colorado. This gap in registered data is inconsistent with the pattern of telematics data captured in the days and weeks leading up to this event. Phone records for both Suzanne Morphew and Barry Morphew were analyzed by expert investigators. The FBI CAS team analyzed phone records for both Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew to determine location information and device usage related to their cell phones. In Suzanne Morphew's phone records, there was no indication of any user-initiated activity after the time Barry Morphew returned home at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th, 2020. Suzanne Morphew's cell phone device continued to connect through RTT data with the cell phone tower that services the Morphew home throughout the night of May 9th into the early morning of May 10th, 2020. These automated data connections, however, were consistent with the tower reaching out to the phone to determine its location and not initiated by the user of the device. After 4:23 a.m. on May 10th, 2020, Suzanne's phone ceased to connect at all ever again. Just 8 minutes later, Barry Morphew's cell phone data showed his phone ceased to connect starting at 4:31 a.m., consistent with the cell phone download showing it powered off at 4:32 a.m. Suzanne Morphew's cell phone never registered on any towers other than the tower consistent with the Morphew residence from the time Barry Morphew returned home around 2:43 p.m. on May 9th, 2020, to the time it ceased activity altogether at 4:32 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. Despite searches for the device, Suzanne Morphew's cell phone was never found. Police interviewed people that knew Barry Morphew prior to his move to Indiana to Colorado in 2018. These witnesses told law enforcement that Barry Morphew was a deer farmer in Indiana. Several individuals told law enforcement that Barry Morphew used a specific tranquilizer called BAM to sedate and transport deer on his deer farm. Barry Morphew admitted to using BAM in both Indiana and Colorado. Specifically, he admitted to using BAM in Colorado as recently as April of 2020, stating that in that time he had tranquilized a deer from the breezeway of the Morphew residence. On September 22, 2023, human remains were found in and around a shallow clandestine grave in Saguache County, Colorado, near Highway 17. The remains were found a few hundred feet down a dirt road off of Highway 17. This location was less than an hour south of the Morphew residence by main highways. The remains were determined to be those of Suzanne Morphew. The majority of her bones were recovered. Many of the bones were significantly bleached. Along with Suzanne's bones, law enforcement recovered a cancer port and items of clothing, some of which were consistent with bike clothing Suzanne was known to wear. There was no visible postmortem trauma observed. A board-certified forensic anthropologist, a botanist, and an entomologist all analyzed the remains, and several observations were noted. There was a distinct lack of bug activity, which was inconsistent with the remains having decomposed at that location. The clothing items lacked evidence of decomposition, which was inconsistent with Suzanne Morphew wearing the bike clothes at the time of her body decomposing. Additionally, there was a lack of animal predation on the bones. There was only a very small amount of desiccated soft tissue found on a few of the bones, and there was no hair mass located. All of these features would have been expected if this had been the original grave site where decomposition had occurred. The forensic anthropologist opined that based on these factors, it was unlikely Suzanne decomposed from a fresh body to a skeleton at this location. The El Paso County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy. In addition to the standard toxicology testing, the Coroner's Office conducted additional toxicology tests at the request of law enforcement for the presence of a chemical mixture known as BAM. The chief toxicologist tested Suzanne Morphew's bone marrow for the presence of BAM. The metabolite's presence also indicated that her death was not immediate following BAM exposure because Suzanne Morphew's body had begun to metabolize the drug before she died. The coroner's office determined cause of death and manner of death as follows: homicide by unspecified means in the setting of BAM. A pharmacologist and medical doctor testified about the toxicology testing done to determine the presence of BAM in Suzanne Morphew's remains, about the chemical compound itself, and about the possible effects of the compound in humans. The expert explained that the toxicology test done by the coroner's office met scientific standards and reliability and accuracy. He further testified that BAM is a chemical mixture of 3 specific compounds used as a tool for sedating animals for medical treatment or movement. Back in 2020 and the years leading up to Suzanne Morphew's disappearance, BAM was sold by only one company in the United States and could only be obtained by prescription from a veterinarian. BAM must be administered into the bloodstream through intravenous or intramuscular injection to be effective, as the skin and GI tract do not absorb it effectively. BAM does not cause sedation instantaneously, but takes several minutes to take effect. BAM is designed not to be lethal and comes with reversal agents in the prescription kit. However, BAM is not FDA approved for any human use. For that reason, there is no specific studies available that address the possible effects the compound would have on humans. The pharmaceutical expert testified that the compound would render the recipient wholly immobile, vulnerable, and unable to resist any constrictions to the recipient's ability to breathe. Records were obtained for BAM prescriptions related to Barry Morphew. Records were also obtained for BAM prescriptions for all persons within the counties and adjacent counties to where the Morphews lived and where Suzanne Morphew's remains were located. Those records show that Barry Morphew obtained and filled several prescriptions for BAM while living in Indiana. Barry obtained multiple kits that each contained multiple doses just a few months before the Morphews moved to Colorado. Records further showed that no other private citizen or private business in any of the surrounding counties had purchased BAM prescriptions from 2017 to 2020. Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the National Park Service were the only entities that received prescriptions of BAM in those counties from 2017 to 2020. Investigators learned that each of these government entities enforced tight regulations to monitor the BAM prescriptions' storage and use. None of the BAM for those agencies was unaccounted for. Ultimately, the prescription records show that when Suzanne Morphew disappeared, only one private citizen living in that entire area of the state had access to BAM, and that's Barry Morphew. All offenses against the peace and dignity of the people of the state of Colorado. Anyway, this was a true bill signed, dated on June 18th of 2025. This is the grand jury information that led to Barry being arrested in Arizona recently and is now incarcerated in Alamosa County Jail, Colorado. This shows Barry Morphew and his information here. It says $3 million cash only bond as conditions if bonding is no leaving the state of Colorado, a GPS unit, and surrender of passport and compliance with mandatory protection order. This is his most recent mugshot from when he arrived in Alamosa County. I'm not sure what happened to his face here. Looks like he might have received a little bump. This is the first arrest affidavit when Barry was arrested the very first time. And a lot of the information in this, it is 131 pages, so I'm not going to be reading that out on this one. Anyway, this does involve Linda Stanley, who has since been removed. It goes on, and it is really long and in-depth, and this is why he was arrested the first time. And a lot of this information may still be relevant in the case. I am not 100% sure on that. Anyhow, thank you again for watching. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and share the video out. Let's get the information out about Suzanne Morphew, and let's hope for justice for her. Again, Barry Morphew is presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, and you know her family deserves justice for her. And let's hope that she gets it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and like, share, and subscribe.